I shouldn't be telling you this. That's the first thought in my head as I sit here alone, with the storm clawing at my windows like a restless animal. The rain has turned the glass into a mirror, and every so often I swear I see something in the reflection that isn't me. Maybe it's just the lightning, maybe it's my imagination, or maybe it's waiting for me to slip up. I told myself tonight would be simple. Just me, a blanket, a cup of something strong, and a stack of horror movies. My kind of comfort food when the world outside feels like it's breaking apart. But this isn't just another storm, and these aren't just any movies. No, what I'm about to share with you isn't a recommendation list. It's a warning. See, most people think ghost stories are just stories. Shadows flickering across a screen, cheap jump scares, and credits rolling when the danger ends. But I've learned something the hard way. Some films don't stop when the credits roll. Some of them follow you into your dreams, into your walls, into the dark corners of your home. And once you've seen them, they don't let you go. So, before we go any further, you need to make a choice. You can click away right now, pretend you never heard me, pretend none of this is real. Or you can stay and let me guide you through 10 ghost films that aren't just stories. They're thresholds. Each one is like a door you open. And once it's open, well, let's just say doors don't always close again. You still here? Good. That's either very brave of you or very foolish. The storm outside cracks like a whip, and for a second the lights flicker. I hate when that happens. It always feels like something slips through during those moments. Something that wasn't supposed to be here. My instinct is to check the hallway behind me, but I won't. Not yet. If I acknowledge it, it gets stronger. That's one of the rules. I should probably explain how this started. The first time I noticed it was years ago when I was younger, desperate to find the scariest movie I could. I thought it was all harmless fun, chasing that adrenaline rush, proving I wasn't scared. But then I found a film that left me shaken for days, and I realized something. Fear lingers. It clings. And if you watch the wrong thing, it can do more than linger. It can attach. That's why I've put this list together tonight. Not for clicks, not for views, not even for company in this storm. I'm doing it because if I share the names, if I pass them on, maybe they'll loosen their grip on me. Maybe by the time I get to number 1, I'll finally be free. Or maybe I'll just be damning you instead. Either way, I don't think I'll make it through the night if I don't start talking. So picture this. Outside, the storm howls like a living thing. Inside, I'm sitting in the half-light, my laptop screen casting just enough glow to make the shadows crawl. 10 movies, 10 ghosts, and a story that doesn't end when the power goes out. If you're still listening, lean closer. Don't worry about the noise in your own house. Don't glance at the doorway. Don't check the reflection in your screen. Because once we begin, you'll want to believe you're safe. You'll want to believe these are just movies, but they're not. And tonight, we start with number 10. Not because people forgot it existed. No, that would be too easy. It's because the film itself doesn't seem to want to stay remembered. Talk to anyone who's seen it, and their stories don't line up. One person swears it's a black and white ghost film from the 60s. Another insists it was shot in grainy color, sometime in the 80s. Even the runtime changes depending on who you ask. 90 minutes, 70. Once I heard someone say it only lasted half an hour, and yet they couldn't shake the feeling it went on far longer than that. The first time I came across it, it was late at night. Of course it was. Bootleg VHS in a cardboard sleeve, no title. Just a strip of masking tape with the words Reel 4 scrawled in red marker. It wasn't even part of a set, just one reel, out of order. Like I'd walked into the middle of someone else's nightmare. From the very first frame, something felt off. The film didn't start with credits. No studio logos, no opening music. Just the image of a hallway stretching into darkness. A single bulb flickering overhead. The camera never moved. Just stayed there, humming softly with static, while you waited for something to happen. And something always did. Viewers report different things. Shadows creeping along the walls. Doors opening, a figure stepping into view. For me it was the sound, a faint whisper threading beneath the hiss of the tape. At first I thought it was a glitch, but then it grew louder, weaving in and out of the static like it was trying to form words. I turned the volume down. The whisper didn't stop. That's the moment I knew I wasn't listening to the tape anymore. The sound was coming from inside my walls. People who've seen the forgotten reel say the same thing. Once you start it, it doesn't matter if you stop. The movie keeps going. Not on your screen, around you. In your house. In your head. The cruelest part? The film feels boring at first. Tedious, just static shots of empty rooms. Sometimes a flicker of movement. Sometimes nothing at all. Lulls you into thinking you've wasted your time on a fake. But that's the trap. It sneaks under your skin, in the silence between scenes, until you're waiting for a noise, a shift, anything to break the tension. And when you finally hear it, the whisper, the creak, the knock, you realize it isn't coming from the tape, it's coming from behind you. They say the reel changes every time it plays. Like it rewrites itself depending on who's watching. A friend of mine swore he saw his own childhood bedroom on the screen, right down to the posters on the wall. Another said he saw himself sitting alone, staring at the screen. Only the figure blinked a second later than he did. No one knows who made it, or why it never surfaces in full. Bootlegs appear on torrent sites, burned DVDs in thrift bins, half-corrupted files passed around forums. But when you go back to check later, the links are gone, the discs misplaced, the files corrupted, forgotten, but not by you. Because once you've seen even a fragment, you'll never really stop watching it. Not while the whispers keep threading through your house. Not while the bulb in your hallway flickers for no reason. Not while you catch yourself staring at the corner of your screen, waiting for something to step into view. That's why they call it the forgotten reel, because it forgets itself. But you won't, and if you're unlucky, it won't forget you either. There's a reason I hesitated before putting The Mirror House on this list. Some films whisper, some linger, but this one looks back at you. It came out overseas, Japan if the rumors are true, though no official release ever made it west. The only versions floating around are fan-subbed copies, sometimes with whole chunks missing, as though the footage simply refused to translate. Even so, it's gained a reputation. The Mirror House is less a film and more an invitation to doubt yourself. The story is simple enough. A family moves into a grand, crumbling estate filled with mirrors, some cracked, some pristine. The ghosts reveal themselves not by appearing directly, but through reflections. Faces in corners, hands pressed against glass, figures walking where no one should be. Standard haunted house fare, right? except the reflections don't always line up. I remember watching one scene in particular. The daughter, brushing her hair at night, sits in front of a tall vanity. For a while, everything matches, her movements, her expressions perfectly mirrored. But then she freezes, or at least she thinks she does. Because in the glass, her reflection keeps brushing. 1, 2, 3 strokes past where her hand stopped. The first time you see it, it's subtle enough that you wonder if you imagined it. But that's the poison of the mirror house. The longer you watch, the more you question your own eyes. Some say the danger doesn't end with the movie. People have reported glancing into their own mirrors afterward and noticing slight discrepancies. A delayed blink, a smile that lingers too long, an angle that doesn't quite match. One guy online claimed his reflection walked away before he did. Another insisted he caught his mirror self looking over his shoulder at something that wasn't in the room. I'll admit something now. The first time I saw the film, I laughed it off. The effects were creepy, sure, but I chalked it up to clever editing. Until I went to brush my teeth afterward. I spat into the sink, looked up, and for the briefest second, my reflection's mouth was still open. I told myself it was exhaustion, paranoia, the storm rattling at my nerves. But when I checked again, the toothpaste foam was gone from my mouth. It was still in the reflection. There are whispers online about a longer cut of the film, one that was banned after an early screening. Supposedly, the last 10 minutes showed audience members reflected in the mirrors on screen. Their clothing, their gestures, even the seats they sat in, captured somehow on film. But when the lights came up, some of those people were no longer in their chairs. No one can prove it, of course. The footage is lost. Every so often, though, a link pops up in a forum promising to be the full version. But the links rot. The files vanish. Like the film itself is keeping control. If you ever decide to track it down, here's my advice. Cover your mirrors first. Watch it in a room with nothing reflective. And when it's over, whatever you do, don't look in the glass right away. Because if the reflection is still moving when you stop, it might not stop at all. If you've ever felt uneasy around dolls, the glassy eyes, the frozen smiles, you should skip this one entirely. The doll maker's lullaby takes that discomfort and twists it into something far worse. The film looks like an old European fairy tale adaptation, the kind you'd find buried in bargain bins or half-burned VHS tapes. It opens with a toy maker, hunched over his workbench, humming a lullaby as he paints the faces of porcelain dolls. The melody is haunting, not quite soothing, not quite sinister, just enough to crawl under your skin. The dolls are perfect, too perfect. Their eyes glint like they're wet, freshly alive. And every time the camera cuts, there are more of them in the background, staring, watching. The plot is simple. The doll maker loses his daughter, and in his grief he crafts a doll that looks exactly like her. Only she doesn't stay still. She moves, first in flickers, then in full scenes. Soon every doll in the workshop begins to stir, their porcelain jaws creaking open as they join in the lullaby. That's where it should have ended, a creepy puppet tale. But people who've watched it swear the film has side effects. The first story I ever read was from a girl who claimed she watched the doll maker's lullaby at a sleepover. That night she woke up paralyzed. She couldn't move, couldn't scream, but she swore she saw a doll, one that hadn't been in her house before, sitting on her dresser, its head tilted just slightly too far. She said its lips moved, whispering the same lullaby from the film. I brushed it off as internet exaggeration until it happened to me. It was 3 in the morning, storm outside, same as tonight. I'd just finished watching. I turned off the TV, lay down, and closed my eyes. The lullaby was still in my head, soft, almost comforting, till I realized I wasn't imagining it. The sound was real, faint but distinct, coming from the far corner of the room. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My gaze dragged toward my bookshelf. Sitting there, on the top shelf where nothing had been before, was a porcelain doll. Its eyes were on me unblinking. Its mouth moved slowly, deliberately, forming the words of that cursed lullaby. I don't remember how long I lay there, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. All I know is when the paralysis broke, the doll was gone. Gone. But here's the part that still keeps me up. The next morning, I found a single porcelain hand in the sheets beside me. Small, fragile, cold as ice. Collectors say there's a lost version of the film, an alternate cut with an extra scene, never officially released. Supposedly, in that version, the doll maker whispers directly into the camera, promising that the dolls will come to visit. No one has a full copy anymore, just fragments, clips that surface on obscure forums, then vanish hours later. Maybe that's for the best, because if the dolls find you once, they don't need the film to come back. All they need is for you to close your eyes just long enough to hear the lullaby again. And once you do, they'll be waiting. This one doesn't look like a movie at first. The last broadcast of Room 6 is filmed like raw, uncut footage. Cheap cameras, washed out lighting, audio that feels more like surveillance than cinema. That's part of what makes it so unsettling. It doesn't feel like fiction. It feels like evidence. The story follows a group of college filmmakers who rent a decrepit motel room, Room 6, to shoot a short ghost documentary. They set up their cameras, interview the owners, and laugh about local legends. For the first half, it's almost boring. Kids cracking jokes, setting up tripods, eating bad takeout while thunder rattles the windows. But around the 30-minute mark, something shifts. The interviews turn strange. The motel owner insists the room is fine, but he keeps glancing at the door, like he's afraid it might open by itself. A maid mutters that she won't clean the bathroom anymore. Not after what she saw in the mirror. When pressed, she refuses to elaborate. The students laugh it off. Nervous laughter. That's the last time anyone laughs in the film. What follows is a slow, merciless descent. The footage grows choppier, like scenes are being lost. Shadows gather in corners where no shadows should fall. One by one, the students begin to change. Paler, quieter, refusing to sleep. By the hour mark, none of them are eating. They're just waiting for what the film never says. And then comes the ending. The camera is on the bed, tilted at a sickening angle. The students are all there, huddled together, whispering. The storm outside drowns their words. Suddenly, one of them screams. Not a staged horror movie scream, but the sound of raw terror tearing out of someone's lungs. The others join in. They scream and scream, but the camera never moves, never blinks, never cuts. It just records. The lights blow out. The screaming doesn't stop. And when the credits roll, you can still hear it. That's the part that unnerves me the most. The credits. Black background, white text crawling slowly up the screen. But beneath it, the screaming continues, ragged, choking, fading. If you turn the volume up, you swear you can make out words in the chaos. Pleas for help, prayers. Someone whispering, "Don't let it in." The first time I watched it, I thought it was clever sound design. But when I rewound, something happened. The screaming didn't sound the same. Different voices, different words. Some people claim if you play it back enough times, the screams start to include your name. I tested that theory once. Just once. I let the credits run on repeat, headphones on, storm raging outside. And on the third loop, I heard it my own name, clear as day, whispered between the shrieks. I ripped the headphones off, heart pounding, but the sound didn't stop. It was in the room. There are forums dedicated to the last broadcast of Room 6. Some say it's cursed footage. Others believe it's a viral ARG, a hoax that got out of hand. But no one can explain why no one from the supposed cast or crew has ever surfaced. No one can explain why the motel in the film doesn't appear on any map. And no one can explain why, if you listen carefully enough, you can still hear the screaming. Long after you turn the movie off, some movies scare you with monsters. The Children in the Attic scares you with silence. It's an older film, supposedly from the 1970s, though no studio has ever claimed it. The picture quality shifts between hazy reels and crystal clear shots, like it was pieced together from different sources. That inconsistency alone is enough to make you uneasy, like someone didn't want the film preserved, but couldn't let it go completely. The premise sounds almost innocent. A family inherits a countryside home, only to discover strange noises coming from above. Laughter, footsteps, the faint rhythm of a ball bouncing on wood. The father dismisses it, the mother grows pale, and the children keep pointing at the ceiling, whispering about friends who want to come down. The attic, of course, is locked. The film drags you along as the noises grow louder. The night's longer, furniture shifts on its own, the wallpaper peels, and always the sound of children giggling overhead. By the halfway mark, the family has stopped pretending. They start sleeping in the living room together, too afraid to climb the stairs. There's one scene I can't forget. The father finally loses his patience, grabs a hammer and breaks the attic lock. The family stands behind him trembling. The door creaks open. The camera tilts upward. Darkness yawns beyond. And then, nothing. The attic is empty, except for the toys, hundreds of them. Broken dolls, spinning tops, blocks carved with letters, all scattered across the floor. The family gasps. But the camera lingers too long and you notice something horrifying. The dust. Every inch of the attic is coated in thick, undisturbed dust, except where the toys sit, as if something has been playing with them. After that, the children in the film stop speaking entirely. Their mouths open, but no sound comes out. Meanwhile, the attic noises grow louder. Multiple voices now, overlapping, shouting, laughing, crying. The parents grow thinner, weaker, until they barely move at all. And then the climax, the camera points toward the ceiling, where faint handprints press down from above, pushing against the boards as if the children in the attic are trying to break. Through the film cuts to black, but here's where it gets worse. Urban legends tie the movie to a series of real missing children's cases. Police reports from the 70s mention kids vanishing from homes with attics locked shut. Families who swore they heard noises above their ceilings before the disappearances. And there's the rumor about pausing the film. Supposedly, if you freeze the attic scene at just the right frame, the children don't look like actors. They look like photographs. Real missing kids, their faces pressed against the attic floorboards, staring down at the camera. I never tried it. I don't want to know. Because if it's true, then the film isn't fiction, it's evidence. A record of something that shouldn't be possible. And if that's the case, then maybe the children aren't trapped in the attic at all. Maybe the attic is just where they wait until someone new dares to watch. And when you do, when you let their laughter spill into your house, maybe you're the one who ends up locked in the silence. Some films unsettle you because of what they show. The House Without Doors unsettles you because of what it refuses to. The opening is slow, hypnotic, a long, creeping shot of a vast old mansion, its windows glowing faintly in the dusk. At first glance, it looks like 100 other Gothic horror houses. Imposing, lonely, beautiful in a decaying way. But as the camera lingers, you notice something strange. There are no doors. Not a single one, no front entrance, no back gate. Just windows. Hundreds of them. Some cracked, some wide open, some shuttered tight. The film never addresses it directly, but once you notice, you can't unsee it. The house breathes with light and shadow, but there's no way in and no way out. The plot is little more than fragments. A man and woman wandering through empty halls, searching for someone they can't seem to find. They never say who. Their voices echo hollow, as though the house itself swallows their words. At first they seem frustrated, but soon their voices fade. By the midway point, they've stopped speaking altogether. Here's where it gets unnerving. The transitions. Every scene ends with the camera approaching a wall. Not a doorway, not an arch. Just a blank wall. It presses closer, closer, until the frame fills with wood or plaster or peeling paint. Then cut. A new room, a new angle. The couple still wandering. It's as though the film itself is walking through walls. People who've studied the movie claim it's a metaphor. Something about entrapment, grief, liminality. But others whisper about darker things. Supposedly, if you watch the film in one sitting, you start to feel misplaced. Like your own house isn't quite right anymore. You'll walk into the kitchen and swear the doorway is narrower than it was yesterday. You'll pass a mirror and wonder if the reflection showed you in the wrong room. That's exactly what happened to me. The night I watched The House Without Doors, I was alone. By the end, my chest felt tight, like the walls around me were pressing closer. When I got up to turn on the lights, I froze. My hallway looked longer than I remembered, too long. The shadows stretched out like I was standing in someone else's house. I blinked, and it was normal again. But I didn't sleep that night. Online, there are stories of viewers disappearing after watching it. Not immediately, not dramatically, just gone. One day they're posting on forums about how the film made them feel trapped in their own homes. The next, nothing. Their accounts sit idle. Their friends report them missing, and their houses are found locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. No doors broken. Just empty rooms and windows left ajar. Some say the film isn't fiction at all. It's a recording of the house itself. A place that exists somewhere off the maps. A place that pulls people in. And once you've seen it, once the image of those doorless walls imprints itself in your mind, the house can find you. So if you ever notice your home feels wrong, if you ever dream of walking through endless rooms with no exits, no entrances, just walls, don't panic. It only means the house has started to remember you. There's cursed cinema. And then there's the Gravediggers film. This one feels different. It doesn't just scare you. It carries the weight of death itself. The legend says it was an independent production, filmed somewhere in Eastern Europe in the late 90s. Low budget, skeleton crew. A passion project according to the few scraps of production notes that survived. But here's where it twists. Every single member of that crew is dead. Not decades later, not by accident. Dead before the film was ever released. The director supposedly collapsed mid-edit. The lead actress was killed in a car crash the week after shooting wrapped. The cinematographer was found buried in his own backyard. No explanation. And no one ever claimed responsibility for finishing the film. Yet somehow, copies exist. When you press play, the first thing you see is a man in a ragged coat, digging. He never speaks. He never looks at the camera. Just digs, shovel biting into soil with a rhythm that never changes. Scene after scene, no matter what else happens, the gravedigger is there. Sometimes in the background, sometimes behind a window, sometimes closer, always digging. The story that plays out around him is almost irrelevant. Families mourning, a priest losing his faith, children playing near headstones. The human drama feels secondary, blurred, forgettable. Because your attention always slides back to the gravedigger, his hollow eyes, his steady movements, the way his shovel seems to echo louder than any line of dialogue. People who've watched it say the sound gets inside your head. That metallic scrape, that thud of earth hitting earth. Long after the movie ends, you hear it in your house. Out your window. In your dreams, I didn't believe it at first. But the night I tracked down a DVD, I woke at 2:17 a.m. to that exact sound. Dull, steady, dragging me out of sleep. Shovel into soil. Over and over. I looked outside, but the yard was empty. Still, the sound went on. I barely slept. And when morning came, I found a patch of freshly turned dirt by the fence. Here's the detail that keeps me from brushing it off. I don't have a shovel. Collectors say each copy of the Gravedigger's film is unique. The digging man changes position. The graves multiply. Some versions include an extra scene. A single, unbroken shot of the gravedigger setting down his shovel, wiping the sweat from his brow, and finally looking into the camera. If you ever see that cut, the rumor goes, he won't stop digging until he's reached you. People who owned that version. Their discs are always found left behind, still spinning in the player. Their houses, though, are empty. Sometimes the doors are locked, sometimes they're wide open. But always there's a fresh mound of dirt somewhere nearby. And when you press play on their abandoned copy, there he is again, digging. Only this time, there are more graves than before. Maybe one of them is waiting for me. Or maybe it's already waiting for you. Because the gravedigger never stops. And if you've heard his shovel once, you'll hear it again. Sooner or later, he always finishes the hole he started. Some movies haunt you with images. The Lighthouse Murmurs haunts you with sound. On the surface, it looks like an art house film. Long, lingering shots of a desolate coast. Waves crashing against jagged rocks. A solitary lighthouse blinking its beam into the fog. But from the moment it begins, you realize something's wrong with the audio. The waves are too quiet, the wind too thin, and underneath it all there's a faint hum, low and uneven, like someone breathing into the microphone. The story follows a lighthouse keeper, the last of his line tasked with keeping the lamp lit after his predecessors vanished. He writes in a logbook, talks to himself, recites old sailors' prayers. For a while it feels almost mundane, lonely, atmospheric, more sad than scary, until the whispers start. They rise slowly, barely audible at first, like the sea itself is speaking. Snatches of words in languages you can't place, syllables swallowed by static. The keeper hears them too. He pauses mid-sentence, cocks his head, and stares at the walls as though they're murmuring. He records his unease in the logbook, which the camera lingers on just long enough for you to see the handwriting trembling. By the halfway mark, he's no longer talking to himself. He's answering the voices. He argues with them, begs them, pleads for silence. But the whispers grow louder, overlapping until they form a constant chorus. Here's where the legends begin. Some viewers claim the film isn't just sound design. It's real. That the audio contains actual EVP, electronic voice phenomena, recorded from a haunted lighthouse where the movie was shot. Paranormal enthusiasts swear they've isolated phrases in the murmurs, warnings, names, even pleas for release. Skeptics dismiss it as pareidolia, our brains finding patterns in noise. But then there are the ones who hear more than just whispers. One man wrote that, on his second viewing, he heard someone whisper his own name, not just once, over and over. Another claimed the murmurs shifted when he turned the volume down, seeping into his house through the walls instead of the speakers. I had my own experience. I watched the lighthouse murmurs alone, headphones on, storm raging outside. About an hour in, I paused to catch my breath. The film went silent, but the whispers didn't. They kept going, faint but clear threading into the quiet of my room. When I yanked the headphones off, the sound didn't stop. The ending is ambiguous. The keeper writes a final entry, ink smudged, hand shaking. The sea is inside now. Then the lamp extinguishes, plunging everything into darkness. The screen lingers black for too long, and just when you think it's over, you hear one last thing, a chorus of whispers, layered so thick you can almost hear them laughing. Collectors say there's an extended cut that includes an extra 30 seconds of audio after the fade to black. Supposedly, it isn't just whispers anymore. Supposedly, it's voices calling out to whoever is watching, demanding they answer back. Maybe that's why the film has been pulled from every streaming platform it lands on. Maybe that's why copies keep vanishing from circulation. Or maybe it's because the lighthouse doesn't want to be forgotten. Because if you listen closely enough, you'll hear it still murmuring, waiting, calling you by name. Some horrors don't come from what you see. They come from the signal itself. The Dead Channel is one of those. No one's sure when it first aired, or if it aired at all. The story goes that in the late 80s, a handful of people across different cities stumbled on the same late-night broadcast while flipping through static, a channel with no number. Just fuzz, snow, and an intermittent tone like a distant heartbeat. Then suddenly the static would clear, and the program would begin. The footage is simple, almost banal. An empty living room, faded wallpaper, a TV in the corner flickering with static of its own. The camera never moves. Minutes stretch into eternity as the room sits in silence. Occasionally, the TV flicker changes, faces appearing for a split second, too fast to catch. A man's smile, a child's eyes, a blurred figure sitting in the armchair that was empty a moment ago. And then, the sound. It's not music, not dialogue, just noise. Bursts of static layered with what sounds like voices buried beneath. People who've slowed the audio claim you can hear sentences, pleas, threats, instructions. Some swear they heard their own name buried in the distortion. I know what I heard. I caught a copy years ago buried in a torrent labeled only Lost Broadcast. At first it was nothing, just fuzz, but then I heard it. Don't turn it off, a whisper sharp enough to slice through the static. I froze. I thought maybe I'd imagined it, till it repeated louder this time, laced with something like anger. Don't turn it off, I panicked. I shut the laptop. The screen went dark, but the static kept going. Faint at first, then louder, swelling until it filled the room. My speakers weren't even on. Still, the noise poured out of the air itself, until I yanked the plug from the wall. That finally killed it. Or maybe it just went quiet again, waiting. That's the thing about the Dead channel. Once you've tuned in, it tunes into you. There are dozens of theories online. Some claim it was a government broadcast, an experiment in subliminal messaging. Others argue it's paranormal, an EVP transmission bleeding through television signals. A few even say it's a signal from somewhere else, something not human trying to find its way into our homes. The creepiest theory? That the faces you see flicker in the static aren't actors. They're viewers. People who tuned in, watched too long, and got pulled into the signal. Their image captured, recycled, and broadcast again for the next unlucky soul. It makes a sick kind of sense, because every time someone goes missing after talking about the Dead channel, new still frames surface online. Faces half-formed in the snow, mouths opening like they're about to scream. The legend says the channel still exists, that if you scroll through enough dead air on an old analog TV, you might stumble across it. And if you do, whatever you do, don't look too closely. Don't turn up the volume, don't listen for your name, because the second you recognize yourself in the static, the signal recognizes you back, and once it does, there's no turning it off. The unseen guest isn't just a ghost story. It's the kind of film that feels like it's watching you as much as you're watching it. The first time I played it, I thought the file was corrupted. The opening shot is pure darkness, except for the faint glow of a hallway light at the far end. For nearly 5 minutes, nothing happens. No music, no dialogue. Just silence broken only by the occasional hum, like someone breathing too close to a microphone. Then, footsteps. Soft, dragging, uneven. They echo from somewhere behind the camera. The hallway remains empty, but the sound grows closer, louder, until you feel like it's right behind you. And then, silence again. The story, if you can call it that, follows a man alone in a house he claims isn't his. He wanders from room to room, whispering to himself, trying doors that won't open. He never explains how he got there. He never calls anyone. The entire time, he speaks like someone who knows he isn't alone, but can't bring himself to say it aloud. And here's the part that broke me. Every so often, you catch glimpses of something in the background, a shadow too tall to be his, a hand vanishing around a doorframe, a reflection in a window where no one stands. Blink and you'll miss it. But once you notice, you can't stop looking. People online say the film is cursed, not in the exaggerated horror fan sense. They mean it literally. They claim that while you watch, doors in your own house start to creak open. At first I laughed it off, until the night I tested it. Halfway through, during a scene where the man stares at a locked door, I heard a sound behind me. A slow aching squeal. I turned my head and my bedroom door was opening. On its own. I told myself it was the draft from the storm. I told myself it was coincidence. But when I looked back at the screen, the man in the film was no longer alone. Behind him in the dark, something moved. The worst part? He didn't notice. Some viewers say the entity in the unseen guest changes depending on who's watching, that it shapes itself to you, your fears, your house, your life. Which means no two versions of the film are ever the same. One person might see a tall figure in the corner. Another might see a woman with hair covering her face. Some claim they saw themselves on screen, sitting in their own living room. I made it to the end only once. The man in the film finally opens the locked door. The camera lurches forward, rushing into darkness. And just before the credits roll, a voice whispers, clearer than anything else in the film, "You let me in." I shut my laptop so fast I nearly cracked the screen. My door slammed shut at that exact moment. I don't know who made the unseen guest. I don't know why it exists. But I'll tell you this much. It isn't just a movie. It's an invitation. And once you've accepted it, the guest doesn't leave ever. I warned you at the start this wasn't just a list. You thought we were talking about movies, about fiction, about ways to pass the time on a dark and stormy night. But if you've made it this far, you already feel it, don't you? That pull in your chest, that uneasy silence when the storm pauses, that sensation that you're not listening alone. These 10 films aren't just entertainment. They're doors, thresholds, invitations. And by hearing their names, by imagining their scenes, you've already stepped too close. Maybe you're skeptical. Maybe you're telling yourself it's all a story. Just another creepypasta, nothing to worry about. But when the house goes quiet later, when the shadows stretch long across your walls, when you swear you hear faint whispers beneath the rain, you'll remember me. You'll remember this voice telling you not to look too closely, not to listen too hard. I didn't share these films to scare you. I shared them because I had to. You see, the curse isn't in the watching, it's in the knowing. Each time I speak the titles aloud, each time I describe their scenes, the grip they have on me weakens just a little. I pass it on piece by piece to whoever listens. And tonight, that's you. If that feels unfair, I don't disagree. But you didn't leave when I gave you the chance, did you? You stayed. You leaned in. You wanted to know more. That curiosity is a door in itself. And now something is stepped through. So here's my last warning. When you shut off this video when the screen goes dark, don't ignore the first sound you hear. Might be nothing, a branch against the window, a creak in the floorboards. But if it's a knock, soft, deliberate, repeated, don't answer it. Because if you do, you'll find out what I already know. Some guests never leave, some whispers never fade, some movies never end. That storm outside, it isn't just weather, it's cover. The louder it rages, the closer they are. And when the silence comes, when the thunder fades and the night feels still, that's when you'll know they've arrived. So tell me, was it worth it? Was the list worth the price? Leave your answer below. Comment your theories. Share the names of the films you think you've seen. The ones you swear are real. I'll be reading. I always am, until then. Keep the lights low, keep the curtains drawn, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.